Are you going to burp?
Yep. Yep. I mean, I guess.
Hello and welcome to Sam and Cathy.
My name's Sam Roberts, and this is Cathy Kelley. Welcome to another episode, guys. Hello. I try to let it out, like just kind of let the burp come out nice and slow. Don't need to make a big production.
Does it taste like Coca-Cola and Pop-Tarts?
Yes, it was.
Pop and Pop-Tarts.
It was delicious. Oh, it was great. Well, welcome to the show, of course, Sam and Cathy. I hope you know by now, hosted by yours truly, Sam Roberts, and hers truly, Cathy Kelley. The companion show to Sam Roberts' show, which you can hear on Sirius XM. Please, if you would, subscribe to this here show on iTunes. You can also leave a comment, subscribe, rate, review.
Tell your friends.
Tell your friends.
Tell your enemies.
Tell your kids. Tell your wife.
Tell your dentist.
Right. Just do it for us. It's greatly helpful. Cathy.
Yes.
How are we doing?
Great.
Good. You know, we only got to talk about it a little bit on the show at the end of the show on Friday. Like literally as Jai Ho was playing. Mm-hmm. We found out on the news that Muhammad Ali had died. So they said that first they said he went to the hospital, and then his family the day before had said he was fine. He just went to the hospital for a respiratory problem. Then they said he was on life support, and he just very quickly they announced that he was dead, which is just, I mean, it's a massive loss. I hate seeing people like Ali deteriorate.
Yeah. I feel like, that's one of those things where we always, you want to remember someone in their best form.
Right.
And it's really tough because he was, one of the greatest of all time, or the greatest of all time. And, seeing him in his later years.
I would
tough.
hope and assume death has a weird way of reprioritizing life. Mm-hmm. So I would hope and assume that now the story of Ali is kind of going to end towards the end of his boxing career. And the sort of having to deal with Parkinson's and everything, and everything that went along with that won't be a part of it.
I feel like that's what most of the media coverage
has been.
Yeah.
I think so. And that's what's important anyway. Like for me, I'm not a boxing fan. I'm not a sports fan. I don't care about sports, but I'm always interested in the stories behind sports. So like 30 for 30 on ESPN, I watch all of them. Constantly. Like, I love them. And I love icons of anything. Sports, music, film, whatever it is. Just the idea that somebody can kind of transcend past whatever it is that they're doing and become this. When you become a larger-than-life figure, it really doesn't matter what industry you're in. Mm-hmm. It translates completely through that. And that's what Ali did. Boxing was amazing for a pretty long period of time. You had Ali. And him and obviously him and Joe Frazier was the fight for his career. But there were several fighters that fought at the same time as him. Then there was a bit of a dip. Then Mike Tyson. It's interesting though, because Ali and Mike Tyson, like I can put them together in the sense that Ali is a bigger icon, I think.
Yeah.
But you could see where Tyson is the next icon. Floyd Mayweather, I think it's not his fault. I think it's more what happened to the sport after the Tyson era. Floyd Mayweather isn't, to me, in that category.
Well, boxing isn't as popular as it once was. I feel like UFC has kind of filled that
niche.
Yeah.
Yeah, because people now, when they have that skill, they add more skills to it, and they realize there's a lot of money to be made in MMA.
Yeah.
But
they can kick, too.
Right. People love to kick. Ali, I liked him so much. Number one, I always attached to people who are good promoters and promote themselves and get people's attention. I love when a person can get in front of a microphone and just own everybody. And that's what he did. He really upset some of the people that he fought, for their lives. Joe Frazier, until the day he died, held a grudge against Muhammad Ali. And he can say that he didn't, and at times he would say that he didn't, but at other times he would. And if you interviewed him even in his later years, Joe Frazier would bring up that Muhammad Ali was a dishonest person, like would never have good things to say about him. And until he died, Joe Frazier's voicemail, his voicemail message was a poem, like an Ali type promo poem about how, Ali may have beat him, but look at him now. Until Joe Frazier was dead. And Joe Frazier didn't die, he died a couple years ago.
Yeah.
So, it was something that haunted him forever. And I want to talk about that a little bit because I think that happens in boxing. But Ali, he was able to make a fight something that everybody had to see. Mike Tyson did the same thing, but Ali more so. He made these events bigger. And I said it a little bit on the show, Ali is one of the only people I can think of that had that kind of notoriety, that had that kind of fame, and still stuck to his principles in the sense that he didn't fight in the Vietnam War. He went to court and said he wouldn't fight. He went on TV shows and stuck up for black people aggressively, not peacefully, aggressively at a time when that wasn't happening.
Mm-hmm.
He would not stand down for anybody. I think that made him more appealing as a boxer as well. But you just don't see that. You know what I mean? Like, you don't see people who have that much to lose willing to put it all on the line because that's what I believe.
It's weird because I feel like I see a little bit of that in Ronda Rousey, because she'll take media opportunities to stick up for her friend and talk about legalizing marijuana, or it's not the same, but I feel like she's not as worried about the public's perception. She'd rather.
I don't think she's as aggressive.
No.
I think Mike Tyson, that's
why I said I just see a little bit of that in her.
Ali would go into a room and be ready to kill for his ideals. He'd go into a room ready to fight for what he believed in. And he was going into rooms and being like, you're wrong, I'm right. You're wrong for what you're doing. And that's something that you just nobody would do, which is amazing. I was up until 5 o'clock in the morning the other night watching this documentary because I feel like one of the best boxing documentaries I've ever seen is the Thrilla in Manila documentary. The documentary I was up all night watching was the Chasing Tyson 30 for 30, which is about Evander Holyfield and Mike Tyson.
Okay.
But one of the best ones I've ever seen is the Thrilla in Manila doc because it completely goes over the Joe Frazier, Muhammad Ali thing. And what I took away from that, and a little bit from the Holyfield Tyson thing too, was just that level of sadness that exists in these guys when they have this goal, and it's a singular goal. I want people to know I'm better than Ali was Joe Frazier's goal. I want people to know, because Ali was going around and calling him a gorilla and just calling him being very horribly cruel in promoting the fight, which honestly, if you're promoting a fight, I think all's fair. But Joe, after taking that verbal beating, never really got the chance to be looked at as, yep, he is the better fighter. And nobody ever said he was. So it wasn't something he was ever able to let go. It haunted him literally forever. And the same kind of thing I felt like happened to Holyfield. And Holyfield, I don't think, would admit it to you. And he would never admit it in any of the interviews. He would always say, I just want to be the world champion. I don't need to beat Mike Tyson. And by the way, he beat Mike Tyson twice. Once by disqualification, because Tyson was biting him in the ear. But he beat him twice.
Didn't Mike Tyson bite you in the ear?
He pretended to.
Oh.
That was just a cute thing Mike was doing.
So cute.
But when Mike Tyson pretended to bite me in the ear, it was absolutely one of those scenarios where in the back of your mind, that he has it in him, that he's like a dinosaur. Like, if he sees somebody move suddenly or if somebody says the wrong thing or whatever, he'll bite my ear for real. Like, angry Mike Tyson is always within an inch. And you can feel it in him. You can feel it in his presence. I don't think you can fight professionally on the level that some of these guys do and not have that, aggressive thing in you. But I found that I think Holyfield never got real credit for the champion that he was. When he beat Mike Tyson, he did beat him, but it was also kind of like, but it was it was a different Mike Tyson. It was an older Mike Tyson, and it was a washed up Bob, and it was like, I can't even have that victory. When he was champion, they didn't think he was defending the title against the right people. Like, it's all this stuff, I feel like, haunted Evander Holyfield. And I think it's more so with boxing than any other sport, because boxing, it's like MMA, but I felt like, especially in that era, in MMA, you don't have these grand rivalries that exist over long periods of time.
Yeah.
You generally have rivalries that exist for 6 to 9 months. Mm-hmm. In boxing, you had rivalries that could last years, right? And it was like a life-defining rivalry. And as I'm watching, I'm like, it kind of brought me back to our talk about setting the big goals versus the specific ones.
Yeah. Like
painting broad strokes instead of going like, no, I want that specific thing. Because it's like both these guys, Holyfield, Frazier, like, there's one thing that they have to do at the right time.
And they want to be the best.
In order to feel complete.
Yeah.
And it's one specific thing. And that one thing might not happen. And it didn't really happen the way it should have for either of those two guys. And it leaves you like, I worked hard. I did everything I was supposed to do, and it didn't happen.
Being second best.
Right.
That's what they always say. I remember my mom always telling me when we would watch the Olympics, and I would be like, why is the person with the silver medal so unhappy? It's because they just missed being gold.
Right.
Like,
I wish I was
the
bronze.
People who are bronze are like just happy to be there.
Right.
They're happy to get a medal.
It's probably the same. It's probably like fourth place probably feels a similar way. Like, if you place fourth, you're like, I almost medaled.
Yeah.
If you're fifth, you're like, I was a little off on that one.
Yeah.
Let me go back to the drawing board. But being almost there, yeah. And I think that's what happens to these guys, and it sucks too, because they all end up a little loopy from all the headshots, and so to watch that happen is rough. But then, maybe it doesn't matter so much. Because, like, Ali, he didn't have any of that. Like, he'll go down forever as the greatest of all time. But the cost of being the greatest of all time, and it doesn't click in, I feel like. Right? Like, Ali is the greatest of all time. But the cost of being the greatest of all time were the damages that he had. And I know he had Parkinson's, but you can't convince me that a lot of what was going on with him medically was not because of the blows to the head. I mean, Ali, he was the guy who did the rope-a-dope. He was the guy that he would let people punch him until they were all punched out, and then he would go in for the attack. And just because you can stay on your feet doesn't mean those punches don't have some kind of effect.
Yeah.
So what was the cost of being the greatest of all time? In the moment, it was sweet. But what does it do to you? Like, it doesn't it doesn't set you for life. It just sets you for the moment.
Yeah. I mean, I guess there's always that argument of, I was talking with someone recently about, would you rather be the best at what you do, or like really good at what you do in the best shape of your life when you're like 20 to 35 and do really well, be at the top of your career, and then die 10 years earlier? Or would you just want to be mediocre and have a longer life?
Right.
The people, like, there are two choices, and neither are really wrong.
Right. It's like, what do you want to do here? Do you want to be the guy who's the greatest of all time, but really deteriorates in a severe way to the point that he's not communicating at the end? Or do you want to be the guy that was almost thought he would be the best of all time, didn't quite make it, but is still able to live a fulfilled life. I would say that if you ask those guys that are still living the fulfilled life, Evander Holyfield, like if you really got an honest moment with Evander Holyfield, if you got an honest moment with Joe Frazier, they would probably switch places with Ali.
Yep.
They would, those guys,
100%.
the guys, because at the time, they're dedicating their lives to it. And when you dedicate your life to something, of course, with any athletics, but boxing specifically, when you dedicate your life to it, it stops at 35, 40 years old, whatever it is. Yeah. There's nothing you can do after that.
Why would I dedicate this much time and effort if I'm not going to be the best?
Right. It's almost like
you wasted your life, even though you're like
it's half over.
That's how you feel.
Right. It's almost like you make a deal with yourself, where if I can be the best at this until I'm the first half of my life, if I can spend the first half of my life being the best at this, then I'll be okay spending the second half of my life just kind of waiting to die.
Yeah.
And I think you probably find, I don't know, I bet, I feel like these boxers would have been happier with that arrangement. You know? There is something about leaving the spotlight and it still screws with you after you're considered the best, even if you've accomplished everything you've meant to accomplish. When the spotlight is not on you anymore, that sucks. But yeah, I think that, you know, when people are walking around questioning you, being like, oh, did you ever try to do this? Did you ever try to do that? Versus, oh yeah, you were the greatest. You probably would rather hear you were the greatest.
Mm-hmm.
That's, and to me, that's why and maybe it's a protective mechanism, but I've always felt like if I set a specific goal, the way these guys did, I want to prove to the world that I'm better than Ali. Whatever, if it's a specific goal, I'm coming in to get that job, that's the job for me. You don't have that kind of control over the world, the universe, whatever it is. Like you can't guarantee that. And if that's the one thing, that's the only one thing that you're going after, as opposed to a more broad, like, I want to do this, let's see what form it takes, then that can be very dangerous, you know, because there's a high likelihood that if it's that specific, it's not going to happen. Do you find yourself, like, when you set goals, is it more like that? Like, that's the thing, that's the one thing I want to do, that? Or is it more like, here's the area I want to move into, this is where I want to get, let's see what form this takes?
I think when I was younger, I kind of saw other people's careers and I was like, I want to get to, like, I want a talk show. I want this. Like, I had set goals of what I wanted to accomplish, and now it's much more broad.
Yeah. Yeah, because
I realize the path I'm taking is much different than I thought it would be.
Right.
But now being in the moment, that's exactly what I want.
And it's also like it's the way you kind of survive to keep going. Like, you know now that some of the stuff that you wanted to achieve by 30 is not happening.
Yeah.
You know,
also, I don't want those same things.
Exactly, but different things that you didn't know
you wanted
now you will. Yeah. So it's like, so that's, I think, when it clicks in. And the people that get the things that they want early, once they've gotten them, exactly. Yeah. They didn't fight for it, and boom, it's gone. I was that's what I do now. I spend a lot of time watching my Netflix documentaries. I just love them. I do. I was, like I said, I mean, it was the other night. I was like, oh, I'm going to go to bed early. And then I said, wait, early, like 3:30.
Yeah, I was like, since when do you go to bed early?
3:30. I was like, that's a reasonable time. But this chasing Tyson thing, this sounds good to me. So I put it on. But the documentary that I'd seen before that kind of messed with me was, it was called Orion. And for those of you that haven't seen it, I'm going to spoil it. So, it's a documentary, so whatever. It's a true story. But you can... Spoiler
alert.
Yeah, you can go watch it and listen to this later. You've already downloaded it, so we got the number. It doesn't matter. But I'm watching this thing because I'm just scrolling through Netflix, and the preview image comes up, and it's this guy, and he looks kind of like a cheap version of Elvis, but he's got like a big Zorro mask on, And it's called Orion. And I'm like, what's this? And it's a documentary, and it's a true story in the whole deal of a guy who, in the 70s, he's this guy, he's like in his early 30s, and he can sing exactly like Elvis. He sings and speaks. He's not doing an Elvis impression. He has no desire to be an Elvis impersonator, but he sings and speaks exactly like Elvis Presley.
That's why so many people were confused and thought that Elvis was still alive, is because there's so many Elvis impersonators.
Yeah, one of them's got to be him. One of them's got to be the king. Well, what they did with him was there's this. So he was going and he decided he wanted to be a singer. He was a guy who had a horse farm, and he was making a lot of money with his horses. I don't know how you make money on a horse farm. I don't know if you rent them out, if you sell them, if you ride them, if you show them. I have no idea what the business model is. But he was making good money.
Yeah.
But he ended up, like I said, in his 30s, selling all of his horses, all of his saddles, the whole deal. And he sold them all off. He took all the money and moved out to L.A. so he could be famous and be a singer. So Elvis dies, right? And he died in 1977. And people are like all messed up about it and everything. And at the same time, this guy is in studios and stuff, and he's trying to sing. Well, he's going around touring, this guy Orion. But he's going by, I think his name is Jimmy Ellis. Ellis is his legit last name. Ellis is the last name of the guy who sounds exactly like Elvis. And it's like legit. So he's touring, and this woman finds him. And this woman is writing a book that she wants to option into a movie called Orion. And it's based on the Elvis story, but it's about a guy who faked his own death because fame was just too much for him.
Yeah.
And this is when those...
So, like, the opposite of, what was that Miley Cyrus show?
Hannah Montana? Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. They probably stole the idea from this woman. But this is... And those rumors hadn't really started yet because he had just died. But they go, we want you to maybe sing songs for this, because they said they were like, we're talking to a producer, and I'm writing the book, and it's going to be a movie, and blah, blah, blah. And so they went to Sun Studios, which is the studio that Elvis went to, but this other producer was in charge of it. And this guy, they told this guy the story and said, we want to record with this guy. And the guy goes, okay. And the producer completely stole the story and cuts a record with this guy, Jimmy Ellis, and puts him in a Zorro mask and dresses him kind of like Elvis. This guy is taller than Elvis. He has a different jawline. He's not fat like Elvis was when he died.
Yeah.
He doesn't really look like Elvis, but he sounds like him. He's got black hair. If you want to believe, you can. And that's what it was. They created this thing where people were like, maybe.
Yeah.
They even went so...
If people go to a show, it's like, oh, he's taller in person.
Right, exactly. They went so far. It's like the people who go to Trump University. They're then surprised it was a scam. Like, you just want to believe.
Well, the camera adds 10 pounds.
Right,
so.
right. Exactly. That's what he looked like, I'm sure. But so they went so far as to take an old Jerry Lee Lewis recording and add Jimmy Ellis's voice to it and leave him uncredited. So tons of people bought it, thinking they had found an old Elvis recording. Mm-hmm. And they literally, it was such a scam. They put on the record question marks. Jerry Lee Lewis and this guy and friends, question mark, and a silhouette that looked like Elvis.
Oh my God.
It was such a scam. Then Orion comes out, and they made up a story for him, which was the story that this woman wrote. They put her story, but they put it in the liner notes of the album. So the book's done, the movie's done, the woman gets nothing.
Yeah.
But he comes out, and he does okay. He starts making money. He starts going on tour. He's doing interviews. He's doing the whole deal. And they never say that it's Elvis. That would be wrong. But they never say it isn't Elvis. And he walks around with the mask on all the time. And like when he does interviews, when he's in the car, everywhere he goes, the mask is on. And he's having the time of his life for a minute, and all he wants to do is sing. Like, this is a guy who is like the quintessential, I've got a dream and I'm going to make it happen.
Does he want to be a successful artist, or does he want to just sing in any means?
He just wants to be famous.
Oh.
I mean, it's like it's a sad thing. You can tell he just wants to be famous. He doesn't have this art that like he wants to perfect. He wants to sing. He wants people to hear him sing. He wants to be able to sing.
But it's not for the craft. It's just
because he wants to sing.
Yeah.
Yeah. He'll do whatever it takes. And he hates, by the way, being under the mask. He doesn't like being Orion. He doesn't like being under the mask. He argues with the producer all the time, but the producer goes, "No, you have to." And he signed this awful deal where he's making money touring, but he made no money off his albums. And this was back in the day when people actually still made money off albums.
Yeah.
Now nobody makes money off albums. But back then, so this producer made all the money but he wanted it so bad. They put out, this will answer your question about being an artist. He put out 7 albums over the course of 2 years.
What?
It was a country album, a rock album, an oldies album.
They gotta hit it while it's hot.
They did every genre because he just wanted to see what stuck. I'll do whatever people like. I just want to sing in front of people. So he did
people like him. I get that.
Right. Right. But guess what happens?
What?
He had no identity.
Oh.
Nobody's sitting there being like, I like this, I like that, because he had no identity. And by the way, the first album that came out, it was called Orion Reborn. And it was a picture of Orion, and next to him was a casket that obviously had Elvis's body in it.
Oh, God.
I mean, it was so just awful. But
I'm surprised you didn't have like Elvis haters coming, or
they wanted
Elvis lovers hating Orion, just like wanting to burn his shit to the ground.
No, they wanted to believe. They wanted to believe the king was still alive. And so he's going on tour and he's doing this. And finally, after like 2, 3, 4 years, whatever it is, he's had enough. And he says, I don't need the mask. I'm not going to wear the mask anymore. I'm getting out of this contract. I'm not going to do it.
And then he wasn't popular.
Well, he still kept trying.
Yeah.
And it was like, it's a sad story. He keeps trying.
It's a long time to be filming a documentary about someone who's not famous.
No, I mean, they go back and they find footage and stuff. They weren't working on this since the 70s. But he goes by, his name's Jimmy Ellis. So he goes by Mr. E. Get it? Mr. E?
Yeah.
He goes by Mr. Excitement.
That's so
He
bad.
goes by, he's going by all these different names, and now it's the 80s. At one point, he was Jimmy Ellis, and now he's like 40-something. But they had him dressed up like Rick Springfield in like tight leather pants, and he's trying to be a heartthrob and singing 80s songs, and it was cringe-inducing.
Ugh.
But it's breaking my heart because I see
Your
this
achy breaky heart.
That's right. I just don't think it understand. But I see this guy, and all he wants to do is like he's got this dream, and he thinks I'm just gonna bulldoze. I'm gonna work, and it's gonna happen. And I'm watching this documentary, knowing it's not gonna happen because I've never heard of this guy before this movie. But I'm watching this thing, and I'm going, it's got to happen for him. It's got to happen because he's worked so hard. He's given up everything. He's committed. So it doesn't work being Mr. E. It doesn't work being Mr. Excitement. None of it works. And Orion comes back. He goes, I'll wear the mask again. And he puts the mask on, but this time, like in the 70s, he had a big tour bus that said Orion on the side of it. Now it's him and a guy in a van, and they're going to play in front of like 100 people here, 100 people there. Like there's an old interview with him that somebody's doing in the van that they're like, hey, you ever going to perform again? He goes, well, I'll perform anytime. There's just not that many people calling me that are willing to pay me to do it. It's like, oh. And so.
This isn't a very inspiring story, Sam.
It's not at all.
I know.
Like, it fucked me up.
What happens to hard work pays off?
Yeah. Wait till you hear what happens to hard work pays off. I was been wrong because it doesn't always happen. So, because that's what they tell you.
I mean, I feel like if you're chasing the wrong things, though.
All he wanted to do was sing in front of people.
But people... there's a difference because like what you're saying, if he just wanted to sing in front of people, he could do that, whether it was 10 people a night or whatever. Like if that's what he was passionate about, he could do it probably for his entire life. But if he wants to be famous and he's chasing fame, then that's a completely different thing.
Well, he wants to make a living. He wants to be respected. I don't think he was
okay, so I know plenty of there's an incredible jazz singer I know who just sings at like hotels and like bars in LA, and she's completely happy with that, and she's very, very good. So like if she wants to sing every night for the rest of her life in front of people and like get a great reaction, she can do that.
But there's a big difference between singing in front of a hotel of people and singing in front of a theater of people. And that's the high he was chasing.
Yeah.
Singing in front of the theater of people. Because I get that. And I love...
He was singing in front of people that wanted him to be something else,
I know.
Not him.
That's what he would never accept. He would never fully... He knew that, but he didn't want to.
Yeah.
So he ends up... He's older now. He ends up buying a pawn shop to make money. So he runs a pawn shop. You know, he's the owner and everything's going fine. And a guy comes in to rob him and shoots him and kills him. And and then the guy goes for the cash register and he can't get anything out. And just runs away. He doesn't even get anything from the robbery. And Orion's died.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm just sitting there going, what the No. No. I'm sure he's coming back to do like an old guy. He gets back on the stage. It's a happy ending.
An Orion impersonator.
Yeah, I want to put on the mask and be like, I'm Orion too. Oh. It's like multiplicity. It's a copy of a copy of a copy. Yeah, but I was like, oh my God. Hard work didn't pay off. He died in a robbery where the guy didn't even get anything. I was like, oh. It was so, like, and I think those stories have to be told, too. Because every time...
It's not a very popular story, though, because clearly only on, like, the deep areas of Netflix that you can't find.
It was,
up at 3:30 in the morning.
Yeah, I mean, it was late. I found it. Maybe that was in my preferences, because they're like, you're fucking strange, Sam. You're going to love this. And I was like, yep. This was like a life changer for me.
Yeah, I think I've gone through the documentaries thing and I haven't seen that one.
You have not?
No.
Maybe it didn't pop up on your radar. Yeah. I think like you do have to hear about the people who it really didn't work out for. Like it did not work out at all. Like these are the people who like, yep.
I mean, there's so many people in LA. I've experienced that.
Yes. I want to hear from them. You know what I mean? And figure out, because it goes back to what we were saying before. I was thinking about it a lot. And I'm like, what's the takeaway from this? You know, he busted ass and it didn't happen. But then I thought about it and I was like, he never stopped. That's really the point. That when he started being Orion, he was in his 30s. He was too old to be doing it when he started.
Yeah.
And he never stopped after that. And it made me think, I was like, yeah. You know, he never got to really where you wanted to go. He never got to be he didn't get to be the household name. That's what he wanted. He wanted to be a household name. He didn't want to be an Elvis impersonator. He wanted to be a guy that people admired, that people respected. And I don't think that's a dirty thing. Like, I don't think that you have to have this goal of, you know, I'm just going to pursue my passion regardless of the audience. It's not about the fame. And if it is about the fame, then, you know, it's not worthy or there's no integrity to it or whatever.
Yeah.
Because I think some people, like, they need that notoriety. They need to make an impact on a lot of people. That's what they're chasing. And I was thinking about it and I was like, fuck. Because, like, you watch all these things about people who, you know, struggled and they finally made it. Like, I was thinking about The Rock. And The Rock always tells the story of, like, you know, when I got hired by WWE, I had no money in my pocket and I was sleeping on a mattress I found in the dumpster and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yeah. I was like, but The Rock probably struggled for, like, a year and a half, maybe. You know what I mean? Like, he probably struggled for a year and a half. Then he realized he had a natural ability to be a pro wrestler, and he did it, and he excelled, and it took a little bit for him to excel, but not that long.
Yeah. I mean, not saying it's not hard work.
No. Rock's about the hardest worker I can think of, but he didn't go through that sort of like 15 years of I don't know if this is going to happen or not.
Yeah.
Like that was never the struggle. You know, somebody like The Rock, the story would be like, as successful as I am, I'm still working as hard as I ever did. Mm-hmm. That's, to me, the takeaway from a guy like that. But then I watched this, and I'm like, this guy is working. I wasn't sitting there, because I'm the first person to be like, you weren't working hard enough, or, oh, you slipped up there, or, oh, you did that. And I'm like,
Maybe
no.
he was a dick. You don't know.
You think so?
Yeah, what if he was a huge jerk?
What a jerk that Orion is. Put the mask back on, man. You're ticking me off.
I mean, that's something that, not being a jerk, but like something that I think is very common in today's society, of people who think that they've achieved this level of success when it's really just fleeting fame.
Yeah.
Like I see that in a lot of like The Voice is a prime example of that, or American Idol. Like, people, for the most part, care about people who are on that show at the time.
Yeah.
The second that you're voted off, or the second that season ends, no one gives a shit.
Right.
Like, you might have 100,000 followers in a matter of weeks.
Right.
But
once
it's over,
and it drives you crazy.
You may have like 5,000 that actually care,
right?
Which is still a good number,
but not compared
5,000 more.
But your high is the 100,000, so 5,000 doesn't mean anything anymore. Yeah. Like that's always like,
you're my favorite. I love you.
Right.
You're the best, and then it goes away.
That's always bothered me. Is like, people take Twitter followers so seriously, but it doesn't. Like, it's such a bad indication, because you can have a giant organic following. You can have an organic following that doesn't care about you anymore. You can have a purchased following. Like, it doesn't. It's so strangely manipulated, and the whole thing. But yeah. I guess, but I feel like a lot of the people that win The Voice and stuff like that, you know, they don't have these exceptional work hard stories. They want a reality show. Yeah. Some have, like, oh, you know, I was homeless for about, and it's like, okay, like, and a lot of the people that go on reality shows and say they were homeless, they were like couch surfing for 2 weeks and then they found another place. You know what I mean? Like, it's not.
Their stories sensationalized for TV.
Right. Yeah. I think that it's okay. But my takeaway from Orion, aside from the fact that I need to get me one of those glitter masks, was, and by the way, his masks were sensational. They had all kinds of rhinestones on them. They were the type of masks that, I don't know, Elvis would wear. Also, I worry that he was not a jerk, because they said that there was, like, within hours of him getting killed in that pawn shop, there were hundreds of people outside the pawn shop from the town that were like, no, Jimmy can't be dead. Jimmy can't be dead. It seemed like everybody loved him.
But his name's Orion.
Right. We found out later that was just a character he was playing. Yeah, I didn't mean to bum you out about that. Oh. Yeah. And the real bummer about Orion being dead, found out Elvis is dead the whole time.
Oh,
Sucks.
Man.
Sucks. But I started to wonder, and I was like, well, the one sort of, I don't know. I don't even know if it's a bright side. I don't know. It almost feels like it could be a bright side, but it's kind of a disease too. It's like, would he have been happier if he hadn't chased this thing?
Never know.
Probably not, though. I don't think he would have been. Even if he'd gotten to live longer, if he had died of natural causes 20 years later, he probably would have spent those 20 years, as well as all the years before it, going, you know, I really could have been something.
I do think that happiness is a choice, though. Like, I know people who, you know, chase success or whatever, and they never find what they want. And they just, like, they think, oh, well, like, that was the plan for me. Like, they understand it, and they're like, well, if I can influence one person, or if I can pass this along to someone, whether it's my kid or someone else in the industry, and help them out, then that was my purpose in life.
Yeah. I've heard that before. Happiness is a choice. But if happiness is a choice, I feel like I go like, okay, no, I'm going to choose to be happy. I'm good in my spot. I'm influencing that person. I'm influencing that person. But okay, we're good. But then I see somebody else, and I go, well, why is this my plan and that's their plan? That's bullshit.
Yeah, because you're not truly happy on your own.
Well, I tried to choose it. I chose it.
You chose it momentarily.
But guess what? It didn't choose me. Like, I didn't choose these streets. These streets chose me. But happiness didn't choose me.
No, anger chose you.
That's right. Anger,
frustration,
furious vengeance. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think you've chosen happiness?
I think that I'm happy at times and I'm frustrated at times.
Yeah. Do you like to compete?
I want to be the best at whatever I do. So I feel like when I was younger, I definitely competed with other people, and now I compete with myself.
That's what you're supposed to do.
I want to do better than I did before.
Is that true? I always hope the people that say that are just full of it.
No, I do. I've told you before. I'm like, I know when I do well in hosting, or I know when I do well in an interview.
But isn't there still a part of you? Because I believe that, and I compete with myself all the time. And that is your biggest competition. That's my biggest competition. Yeah. You're right. But isn't there still a part of you that watches what somebody else is doing and is like, you go into Joe Frazier mode? I got to beat that person.
I think that now, especially, I see what someone else is doing, and I aspire to do that. Like, I'll take away, like, things that other people that I think are successful do, and I'll be like, oh, I see what they're doing, and I think that's cool. Not like I want to be better than them. It's just like, oh, I see what they're doing. That's awesome. I want to take that away as like motivation to do better for myself. Not that like, oh, they're doing well, I'm going to be better than that person.
But what if it's people that like are doing well?
Yeah.
But you don't necessarily think they should be doing well. You know what I mean? Like you don't sit there being like you look at them and you go, I'm better than that already.
I definitely used to do that.
Right.
And I wasn't happy when I did it.
Right.
Because now I feel like, if there's an outsider's perspective and they're like, oh, well, you're better at this than that person.
Right.
I take it away as like, oh, no, they have some qualities that got them to the point where they are. Like, whether it was just like the right timing, or they knew the right people, or maybe they have a confidence, or like they're better at being a people person than I am. Like, there are so many things. Like, I look at that person and I'm like, what can I do better in myself to get to the point where I want to be?
Right. And when you see a story like the Orion movie, I like that stuff. Because as much as I love reading about people's successes and everything, obviously,
yeah.
We've talked about it a lot before. But I really like finding the stories of these failures that and figuring out what went wrong here. Like, why did this happen? Okay.
I don't like reading about failures.
You don't?
No.
Why? Don't you think that there's...
Because that gives me less hope.
It does?
Yeah, like, I like the idea that if you work hard, it's gonna turn out okay. Because then I'm like, well, if it doesn't always turn out okay, what the fuck am I doing right now?
But it doesn't always turn out okay.
Well, what the fuck am I doing right now, Sam?
The point is...
You promised me that if I worked hard, that I would get everything that I want.
Well, I heard that from Bob Backlund.
Yeah.
But then I watched this Orion movie.
Well, crap.
Yeah, I know. But I think that I like watching the failures because I think that those are as important, if not more important, to analyze than the successes are. Number one, I think you have to figure out if it's a failure or not. Like, you have to figure out, like, I watched that Orion, and I'm still trying to wrap my head around it. And I'm trying to figure out, is it a failure? Because he didn't get to where he thought he could get. Or did he win because he spent his life chasing it? Even if you never get to the finish line, if you truly spend your life chasing it, then maybe you didn't fail. Like,
I think he chose the wrong path. I think that's
You
where
do?
it went wrong. Yeah, because it goes back to that thing of like having success from like The Voice or something else. You're having a success based off of something that you're not in control of.
Right.
He was having a success based off of people thinking that he was Elvis.
Right.
Well, eventually that's going to die down because people know that Elvis is actually dead.
Right.
So
You hope.
you're not going to get the same reaction.
Right.
And then of course when you finally, like, I think a lot of people misunderstand that level of success that they've gotten from something that's not their own success. It's actually someone else's success.
Yes.
So like The Voice is like the success of NBC and Carson Daly and Christina Aguilera and whoever else. Like it's the success of those people, not the contestants. And it's a common misconception, especially amongst the contestants themselves. And for him, it's like he had the success based off of Elvis.
Right. So at the end of the day, interest in Orion is
Was
based
not-
on interest in Elvis.
Yeah. So like, what is
So-
his,
and
his
he's out
actual
of
name
control.
is Johnny or
Jimmy.
Jimmy.
Jimmy
okay.
Ellis, baby,
So-
Mr. E.
So Jimmy Ellis never had any success.
No, he didn't.
Orion / Elvis had success.
Yes.
But the misconception is like Jimmy thinks, okay, well, I have millions of people who love me. No, they don't love you. They love this character that's based off of someone else.
Right, right. That I've got all these eyes on me and that's all that matters. When in reality, that's not the case because those eyes aren't there for you.
Mm-hmm.
They're there to remember somebody else.
Yeah.
And you're kind of you're riding that gravy train.
There might be a few people that care about you as a performer, but for the most part, they care about something else.
Yeah. And I think too, I think you have to be somewhat in control of the interest in you. Like if people aren't interested in you or interest in you is starting to wane, you figure out why and you move in a different direction, or you're like, okay, this or that, or you keep doing what you're doing and just, it's not about that. But you're right. When the reason that you're doing what you're doing is somebody else,
Mm-hmm.
you literally have no control. If the
I
world
think he skyrocketed to fame because he was something else, and that's the easy path.
Right.
He didn't take the hard path of like.
Well, here's the thing. Yeah, there it is. He tried to take the hard path. He took the hard path, but he got off on a detour. He cashed in. He
Yep.
cashed in because it was like, look.
Something easy. Had he
Yeah.
just maintained, like, if he went in and he was working for 5 years or whatever as Jimmy, what is it?
Jimmy Ellis, baby.
Jimmy Ellis. Okay, so
Mr. E.
Jimmy Ellis keeps working and working and working. Meanwhile, the music industry is the hardest to break into.
Yes.
Like, that is very, like, everyone knows that. Most artists actually become music producers or songwriters or whatever because they can't break into
Just to
the
stay
industry
afloat, yeah.
as an artist. And,
Do you think you're bright enough and strong enough that if, let's say, instead of pursuing hosting, you're pursuing music, if it's not working out for you, like right now, you're doing fine.
Yeah.
Because you got this and you got WWE.
Yeah.
So it's like, in this mindset, of course, you're going to say like, no, I'm fine. But if you don't have if I don't ever, ask you to be a part of this and WWE doesn't ever ask you to be a part of that, and you're still like, I really want something to happen, and something comes along, I don't know what the hosting similarity to this would be, but it's obviously not you. Like, you're obviously a puppet, but you get to be in front of people and you get to do your thing. Are you strong enough without what you have now, 10 years in, to have said, no, I'm not going to do that?
I think that there were opportunities for me like that in hosting.
What were maybe you don't want to say.
No, I could talk about it. I think an easy route that would have gotten me a lot of followers but not maintained anything, being on a show like The Bachelor. And I think
as a contestant?
As a contestant. I know a lot of people who chose that who, they wanted to be hosts or they wanted to be actors or models or whatever.
Yeah.
And
they go, oh, well, Elizabeth Hasselbeck was on Survivor. And, oh, this person. And they take, like, the tiny, tiny, tiny sample size of people that came out of every reality show ever to convince themselves that it's something.
Yeah.
And so you were, at that point, smart enough to know, like, look, this will be the biggest thing I ever did up until this point. But there's a good chance that it stops.
Yeah. I mean, like, a lot of them, they'll come out with millions of Instagram followers or Twitter followers or whatever, but I also have a lot of friends who were on those type of shows and they can't book jobs in LA as hosts or, you know, talent or whatever. Like, I worked for BuzzFeed and they would never book anyone from any reality show because they didn't want the talent to be bigger than the video that they're putting on.
And who knows? Yeah, is WWE now going to say, oh, she's the girl from The Bachelor, we don't want to do the reality show thing? Am I going to be like, oh, yeah, no, I'm trying to build our brand here. I don't think I need a reality show chick on the show. And you're like, it's the same me. I just did that show.
I mean, that kind of label follows you wherever you go.
Yeah. So at any point, though, when was that?
What?
The Bachelor thing.
Oh, I mean, I think that was just a recurring thing that, like, I could do because I had friends that
contacts and
were
stuff
on it. Yeah.
At any point, though, did you say, maybe I should? Like, was it a choice for you, or was it very clear?
I mean, you knew back in, like, when was it? October, November, when I was like, oh, I might move home and whatever. Like, that was never. I think there was a time when I wanted to go on it, like, when I was in college because the novelty, and I'm like, oh, I could find my husband,
right?
Because I was young and naive,
right?
Not that I would like go on it to become famous, but
I tried out for The Real World when I was in college.
Did you?
Yep. I mean, and really, thank God I didn't get the call for it. And it was when
actually, there is more success stories coming from The Real World than
any other show,
other reality shows. Yeah, because if you think about it, Miz came from that. Jamie Chung came from that.
Yep, she's doing really well.
The guy from Grimm was on it.
Sean from The Real World is a senator.
What?
And he's still married to Rachel.
Crazy.
That was early Real World, but still, there's been 30 seasons, and this is like the later seasons.
There have been like 30 seasons of The Bachelor.
Exactly. Yeah, and people don't come out of it. But
I think there are people who achieve success, like Jillian Harris, who is one of the Bachelorettes, is a very successful TV host in Canada and like has an HGTV show or something like that. And then Allie, one of the other Bachelorettes, was on E for a little bit, and now she's not.
But if I do Real World, right? And by the way, I never got an offer to do Real World. I never made it. I got to the table. Yeah, believe it or not, I didn't turn it down. And I didn't have any contacts I could call and be like, I could be on that show.
Yeah.
It was like, no. We've decided to pass. But when I was, and I really wanted to do it. I would have done it 100%. But if I had done it, then I would have gotten off The Real World. And I don't think that I would have been humble enough at that point to then go get an internship at a radio station.
Yeah.
I think I would have gone to L.A. and been like, I'm going to be an actor.
Well, you should give me a show.
Right. I'm ready for my own show now.
Yeah.
Did you see me? I was the star of The Real World.
Yep.
And most of those people who aren't smart enough to handle it, and I'm sure I wasn't smart enough to handle it at that point, are now lost in the shuffle. And it's like, fuck. Like, that was it. I took the wrong shot.
I mean, that's the whole thing about like being a child actor, booking a show really young, because there are fewer people trying out for those roles because you're a child, and it's a lot based off of looks,
right?
Because no one has talent when they're children.
No, they're all terrible.
And then you come off of it and you're not willing to put in the work because you already had that level of success. Like, not that you're not willing to put in work, it's you're just not willing to go back to, okay, I'm taking an intro to acting course, or I'm going to star in these BuzzFeed videos because that's what's going to build up,
Right, which is what, and it's funny now because like now, who is it? Haley Joel Osment, who was like, this kid is getting an Academy Award, blah blah blah, and then he disappeared for a while, but he has humbled himself, and he'll be like, the chubby guy on one episode of Always Sunny or whatever.
Yeah.
And really, that's the smartest thing he could do.
Oh, completely.
Because unless you're Elijah Wood and those sparkling baby blues last until you're an adult, it's tough.
Yeah.
It's pretty tough.
There are people that make it, like Natalie Portman and Drew Barrymore. And there are a lot of people who still, like, they were child stars and still very successful.
Right. But again, there's not all that many.
It's exception.
Not all that many. So, yeah. So you think that's what happened with Orion? Because he just took the wrong turn.
Yeah. I think he cashed in his chips too soon.
Yeah. I wonder if he hadn't cashed in those chips, if he had decided, I'm not going to do it.
I think that he would still be Jimmy Ellis, and he would have a much, much, much smaller but loyal fan base, and I think he would have been a lot happier.
Like if he's just like, no, I perform at the there's like this chain of honky tonk bars across the county. And he never leaves the state, goes home to his wife and kid or whatever, and just performs at these bars. And every Wednesday at this bar, and every Thursday at that bar, and everybody's always happy to see him.
Yeah. Or maybe he's like the opener to a much bigger country artist or something like that, where he achieves a level of success. It's not near what it was in the heyday of being Mr. E, but it's something that
Mr. Excitement.
He can be proud of, and the people love him for him.
Yeah.
So he doesn't have that hanging over his head the rest of his life.
I mean, it creeps up on you. It's tough. I mean, it's a minefield to try to figure out.
A minefield? A minefield?
Minefield. I mean, just saying that word is a ticking time bomb. But it's a minefield. Trying to figure out where your right moves are, when it's time to cash in the chips, and what opportunities are right. I honestly, when I think about the stuff that I've had opportunities to do, I'm not that smart to say no to stuff. Thank God I've been rejected from as many things as I have. Because like all the things that would have fucked me up, all the wrong turns, they didn't take me. Even when I got close.
Rejection is protection.
Right. They rejected me from it. And so I just had to build. The only thing I've been able to do is build it myself, because whenever there's the opportunity to go somewhere, they don't want me. So now, so I'm just like, well, I got to keep going somehow. And it's the best possible thing for me.
I saw on Twitter, there were a couple people who were like, stop bragging about yourself on the show all the time.
Well, guess what?
It's like, okay, this week it's like, no, we were rejected by a lot of places.
Sometimes hard work doesn't pay off at all. And the only thing that's kept me doing what I'm doing is that every place rejects me.
Oh, I can't tell you how many times I was rejected from hosting auditions. I was rejected from so many agents and managers that now I just want to like throw up my middle fingers and be like, look at who you chose to represent, and look at where they are now.
See, I feel like if
look where I am.
I did that because I can't tell. I've been to lots of meetings that people set up for me. Like friends of friends.
Oh, yeah. I had
and
that
they're
too.
like, yeah, he's not that good of a friend of me that I would pick you up. I'm like, oh, shit. But
like, you're not the caliber of client that I have.
Right.
Because I've gotten that before. And then now I'm more successful than the clients that they had.
But I still feel like I'd be like, yeah, I'd throw my fingers in the air and be like, look what you missed out on. And they'd be like, what? Like, maybe you're right. I don't know how to answer that. I feel like they'd be like, oh, well, we have this hot new YouTuber or whatever. And I'm like,
like, I know agents and managers, they might not care about a level of success, but they do care about money. And I know that I'm not giving anyone 10% right now, which is great.
Right. And I'm not giving anybody 10% either. So guess what? That $300 comes right back to me. Not for any agent. And that's annually. So that's quite a bit of money. Yeah. I don't want to give away how much money this stuff is bringing in for me, but let's just say it's $3,000, okay? And we'll leave it at that.
I thought it was 300. Now it's $3,000?
300 is the 10%.
Oh.
There you go, Mensa.
Gotcha.
There you go.
I was just confused by your wording.
My wording.
Yes.
I think you'll have to listen back to that and realize that once again...
I just tune you out sometimes.
Is that right?
I'll be honest.
Is that what they teach you in Mensa?
I'll be honest, yeah.
Well,
tune out the dummies.
Look, one part of being in Mensa, you're going to realize most people are much dumber than you. Don't listen to them.
This has like become a thing. I don't tell people about that because now I feel like, one, I can't play dumb in situations.
Yeah, play dumb.
And
okay.
two,
well, you can't
like
pretend you're playing dumb.
I'm never going to get asked out on a date again because guys are intimidated by that.
Nobody cares about Mensa. No guy is going to care that you're in Mensa.
Guys don't like to date smart girls.
Kathy, nobody's going to be intimidated by your Mensa. I'll tell you what they'll be intimidated by. You're something else, but not your Mensa. Guys aren't going to worry about your Mensa.
What?
No. You're not going to... Nobody is going to not date you because you're in Mensa. It's ridiculous. Trust me. You'll be just fine on that level. Now, I'll tell you this.
What?
You got a lot to live up to.
Which I never do.
Exactly.
I'm a huge disappointment when people meet me in real life.
That's your legacy. Well, I knew that because I've asked all these agents that have met you, and they're like, no. Huge disappointment.
Everyone always says, you're way cooler on Instagram.
Yeah, exactly. Man, yeah. That's what they say to me. You're meeting all these stars, huh? Yeah, none of them know who I am. So that's
here's me and P. Diddy, my best friend.
Right. They're like, oh, how'd you get P. Diddy? Well, he knows Who Kid, and Who Kid knows me, but he doesn't know me.
He didn't even know he was doing the show.
He had no idea. Yeah, really. Like, I post this Instagram photo of me and Who Kid and P. Diddy. And they're like, oh, you got P. Diddy to do your show? Yeah, but don't tell him, because he has no idea he was on my show. He was tricked because he couldn't do Who Kid's show. And I had to just ask too many questions for a sidekick, and that meant that I was hosting now.
Yeah.
He's like, no, man, we'll just use it on your show. Shh, don't tell him. Great, whatever. I can post it on Instagram though, right? Yeah. All right, good. Got my likes up. Well, I hope you all got your likes up for this show. Don't forget to rate, review, subscribe, do the whole thing. Sam and Kathy comes out every Monday, so listen every week. It's going to change your life. And on this same podcast feed, Sam Roberts Show podcast feed, you'll get a Sam Roberts Show every Friday. Make sure you listen to the one we posted last Friday, which is the Rude Jude interview that you were a part of. Mm-hmm. That was a lot of fun. So thanks, guys. And, oh, poor Adrian. He's walking up the hall. Oh, man. I hope he's coming in. And we'll see you next week. You just hang on. Let me
find him on Radio Adrian 1 on Twitter.
I'm Radio Adrian 1469.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't at this point. It's over, right?
Good weekend.
Yeah. See you, buddy.
Take care, boss.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week.